This is RTV6 News at 7, working for you.
Good evening to you here at 7 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. Right now, Hoosier families in some parts of central Indiana are out to dinner for the first time in weeks. Restaurants were allowed to reopen today at 50% capacity in all counties except for Marion, Cass, and Lake. Also included in phase 2 of Indiana's reopening plan, hair salons and barbershops are allowed to reopen by appointment only. BMV branches are also back open for appointments, and in all cases, businesses are encouraged to enforce social distancing. Today, Governor Holcomb reiterated the importance of keeping those guidelines in mind as more businesses reopen.
I don't want folks to abuse this opportunity, and so that social, physical distancing, hygiene, stepping up your hygiene is so critically important. I'm going to ask you to comment on this too, because we're in the early stages of this. We're going to have to manage our way through this virus for the foreseeable future.
The State Health Commissioner, Dr. Christina Bach, says coronavirus cases in Indiana are expected to rise as more people get tested. Today, the department reported almost 7,000 additional tests. Indiana has had more than 24,000 positive coronavirus cases. 1,411 people have died. 81% of the state's ventilators are available, and close to 43% of Indiana's ICU beds are available as well.
A local group is looking out for the families who are struggling to get the things they need during the pandemic. Troy Washington is working for you to explain how they are taking their ministry to the doorsteps of those in need.
These days, Daniel Marquez is busy.
We're all about finding and meeting the need, wherever the needs exist. So if you think about places like 42nd and Post or the near west side of Indianapolis, 16th Street down through Tibbs and those kinds of areas, we know that there are people that, just there's some needs there. And so what we do is we try to not only meet the needs, but actually build relationships.
As a City Life Ministry Director for Youth for Christ, he's delivering meals to families that otherwise might not have food on the table or in the fridge now that schools are closed because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We saw the need to start delivering food to the homes of the students that we serve because in some cases they just didn't have access to the food. So either mom or dad is working and they're using the cars.
He understands everyone doesn't have a way to pick up food, even if it's free.
We pretty much go through an entire community and find the students where they are.
The goal is to make sure that each family gets food that would make sense for a meal. That means that volunteers are taking their time putting each package together. He also realizes he's feeding the soul when he shows up. And he's not just talking about satisfying hunger pains.
We don't just come to the home and just drop off food. We actually take a moment to engage them and ask what's going on in their world.
He says with all that's going on right now, people need the listening ear he's able to lend and genuine concern he takes time to show, even if he has to do a social distance style for a while. Working for you, Troy Washington, RTV6.
Thank you, Troy. And checking in now with Storm Team 6 meteorologist Kyle Mounts. Kyle, it is just gloomy outside right now and quite chilly.
Yeah, very chilly out there, Amanda. In fact, as you look at this map, you wouldn't know that it is the month of May here in central Indiana. Temperatures in many spots stuck in the 40s today, barely making it into the 50s around Lafayette, 53 right now in Terre Haute, and 52 in Bloomington. Looking back to the west, there's another shot of some cool air, so it's going to take us a while to really start to warm things up. We've had the clouds throughout the day. They're still out there. They'll gradually kind of thin out here as we go into the overnight, but mostly cloudy, and that will hold those temperatures pretty steady. By 10 o'clock tonight, we're still in the middle 40s. Tomorrow morning, though, we'll be into the middle 30s across central Indiana, 37 in Greenwood, 36 in Rushville, and especially around the Richmond area, I think you could get around that freezing mark, and there is a frost advisory for much of central Indiana. I think this is kind of the bottom of the barrel. We'll talk about a warm-up coming our way in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Kyle. Indiana Attorney General Curtis Hill says he accepts the state Supreme Court's ruling that will suspend Hill's law license for 30 days. The court ruled that Hill violated the state's rules for professional misconduct. Now, it stems for allegations that Hill sexually assaulted a state lawmaker and 3 female legislative aides at a downtown Indianapolis bar. The women say that Hill inappropriately touched them at a party that followed the end of the legislative session in 2018. Hill has denied the allegations. The suspension takes effect next Monday, and it is half the length of the 60-day suspension that was recommended by a former state Supreme Court justice who oversaw Hill's disciplinary hearing last fall. A key part of today's ruling is that if Hill has no other disciplinary issues, his law license will be automatically reinstated after the 30-day suspension. That also means he will be reinstated just before next month's state Republican Party convention, which will decide whether Hill will again be the party's nominee for Attorney General. You can read Hill's full response at theindychannel.com.
Yard signs have become a popular way for loved ones to honor the frontline workers in their lives, but an Indianapolis couple was surprised to find out their signs are considered a violation. RTV6's Rafael Sanchez explains.
These signs are a point of pride for Damon and Tina Turnmeyer outside their Indianapolis home. Damon works with kids with special needs. He's been on the job for 16 years.
I love working with the kids. I love it. It's one of the most rewarding jobs ever.
His wife, Tina, works at Homeview Health in Franklin, a position she's embraced for over a decade.
I take care of the elderly. They're the most at risk with this virus right now. He takes care of children.
The Turnmeyers have been married for 8 years. Their passion for serving others is highlighted with these signs. One proclaims, "A hero lives here." The other, "We love our hero." But their homeowners association sent them a letter asking them to remove the signs from public view for violating their neighborhood's covenants.
I was enraged. At this present moment in time, we should be able to appreciate and acknowledge what we do.
I was very proud. My mom actually gave it to me. She bought it for all of her daughters and sisters that are currently working. Some of us in the healthcare, some of us in working at Meijer.
In their letter, the HOA gave the couple time to remove the signs before it takes action.
So what do you say to the HOA who's going to say, look, we have rules. If we don't have rules, people will paint their homes pink. They'll put yard signs. They'll put fish tanks in the yard. They'll go crazy. We have to have rules.
I understand that. Right? With us having a pandemic, my stand is until this pandemic is over, I think that it should be represented that, that we are going to work every day and we are doing what needs to be done to look out for America.
And that was Rafael Sanchez reporting. We reached out to Omni Property Management Services. Their board of directors, which could have made an exception on this case, are instead telling us no comment. The Turnmeyers have until Thursday to remove the signs or they could face legal action.
2 Delphi businesses run by a local family are making face masks more comfortable. Hometown Shirts and Iconic Graphics have now donated 37,000 mask hooks. The hook is a clip that allows people to place the elastic bands of their face masks around their head to relieve sore ears. The companies have been making the hooks available to hospitals, police, and individuals. If you would like to get a hook, you can go online to hometownshirts.com.
Still ahead on the news at 7, a worker speaks up about unsafe conditions that led to a spike in coronavirus cases in one Indiana county. Why he says his employer is not doing enough to protect workers.
But first, experts believe they might have a new option for treating coronavirus patients. We're taking a closer look at what they might cost you and your insurance company.
Working for you. This is RTV6 News at 7, working for you.
A concern for some when it comes to catching the coronavirus is the cost of treatment. With at least one new drug showing promise, Joe St. George is taking a look at what you or your insurance company might be asked to pay if you need some help fighting COVID-19.
As COVID-19 continues to paralyze our lives in laboratories all across the country, the race to find a cure, or at the very least a treatment, is on. One promising solution is remdesivir, developed by Gilead Sciences, with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases recently publishing hospitalized patients with advanced COVID-19 and lung involvement who received remdesivir recovered faster than similar patients who received placebo. But how much will this cost?
But we looked at the fair pricing from two different perspectives.
Dr. Steve Pearson is director of the Institute for Clinical and Economic Review out of Boston, who says $4,500 would be the fair price for the treatment based on his team's research. What will Gilead charge? That's unclear. It could be more, it could be less. But the company does have a history of frustrating some consumers. In 2015, they charged $84,000 for their drug Sovaldi to treat hepatitis C. That breaks down to around $1,000 per pill. So far, the company has donated its entire initial supply of the drug to the federal government, who will decide where it can be used. But eventually, that will change. Pearson says the country should watch more closely what happens next.
It may be that the traditional way of letting a drug company name its price and seeing what the market will bear is just not going to be the smart way for our country or for the world to approach this.
You see, even though the National Institutes of Health, headquartered here in Bethesda, Maryland, have spent nearly $700 million over the years researching coronavirus, the government traditionally doesn't share in the profits or set the price. Well, Congress is keeping an eye on this. This letter has been sent to the Health and Human Services Secretary asking for oversight. Taxpayers are often the angel investors in pharmaceutical research and development, yet this is not reflected in the prices they pay. Democratic Congressman Jason Crow.
If cost becomes a barrier to people getting the treatment or getting vaccines or getting tests, then we're actually not going to solve this public health crisis.
What happens next with remdesivir is very much in the hands of Gilead, with the nation watching. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
I bet you could use a warm-up, and we've got one of those coming our way, but it's also going to bring some rising rain chances. We'll talk about when rain's most likely and when we could have a few thunderstorms in the 7-day forecast.
Tonight on Court TV, join me for my exclusive conversation with Megyn Kelly after her big interview with the woman accusing Joe Biden. I'm Ashley Banfield, and we'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern.
To make a difference.
Regardless it's a union job and regardless that it's good money and stuff, it's not worth my life.
Risking his livelihood to avoid risking his life. RTV6 speaks with a man who works at a meatpacking plant in central Indiana who says he is not going back just yet. Over the past several weeks, meat processing plants around the country have become hotspots for COVID-19. The Tyson plant in Logansport closed at the end of April because hundreds of employees tested positive for the virus, according to the state health department. It reopened last week with reassurances from the state and the company that safety measures are in place. But one employee tells RTV6's Cornelius Hawker he and many of his co-workers are afraid to go back to work.
Every 2 houses, there's a Logansport sign. There's a Tyson sign sitting in the front yard.
Tyson is Logansport's top employer. That's why the COVID-19 outbreak, forcing it to close on April 25th, was so devastating to the community. Gary Whitehouse and his family are going through it.
I just spent my last $10 at Walmart.
But when news got out the plant was set to reopen after nearly 2 weeks of being closed, Gary made the choice to not go back to protect himself and his family.
I wasn't going to take a chance at getting it, and even if I don't catch it and I'm just a carrier, I'm making them all capable of catching it, and I couldn't do it.
He's read about the safety measures Tyson says they've put in place, like screening workers for COVID-19 symptoms, enforcing social distancing, and requiring workers to use surgical-style face coverings. But he doesn't think any of that will do any good if the workstations are set up like they were before the closure.
It's like where we're standing right now at the job, it's 4 people working next to each other, if not 5.
For context, this is how close we were standing for most of the interview. Gary tells me he knows he'll probably lose his job after the story airs, but he thinks it's important for folks to know the tough situation many people like him are in.
Say the ones that get affected the worst are the elderly and the children. Well, I'm around elderly people, I'm around children every day, and I'm gonna be 50 next year. So it's not worth it.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, RTV6.
In addition to testing all of its employees, Tyson has installed additional workstation barriers. More hand sanitizer is available to workers, and the company is also screening employees before they're allowed in. The Logan Sport facility has a mobile health clinic that's also being used to control and prevent the spread of the virus. Kyle.
Amanda, we are 11 days into the month of May, but so far just 2 of those have topped out above 70 degrees. We're going to change that as we go through the next several days, but it's going to be a slow process here over the next couple of days. We'll find those temperatures still below average. 48 degrees for us right now with those clouds, and we've got that west breeze around 15 miles per hour, adding a little more to that chill in the air. Satellite and radar is fairly quiet. Again, maybe a stray sprinkle here or there. That's going to be about it. Then we'll start to clear out those clouds a little bit. Temperatures right now, only 42 degrees in Richmond. It's 48 in Columbus. A little warmer for you, though, in Bloomington and Bedford at 52 degrees right now. Overnight tonight, we'll see those temperatures coldest over the eastern portion of the state. Close to that freezing mark in Richmond, 37 in Indianapolis and Lafayette, and 38 degrees to start off your morning in Bloomington. So we will have some sunshine, brighten things up a little bit to start off our Tuesday. We go to the middle of the day, though, and those clouds roll back in here. We'll have mostly cloudy skies throughout the afternoon, even though you see a little bit of light green showing up there on TrueCast. I don't think we're going to see any of that rain making it down to the ground. So it will be a dry day. Temperatures 55 degrees at noon. We'll get close to 60 for that afternoon high, but keeping in mind the average high is in the lower 70s, so we're still not quite there. 60 in Bloomington, 64 in Columbus, and upper 50s around Muncie and Richmond. Wednesday forecast, things start off better. We're not going to be as cold through the overnight and the morning. 9 a.m. already 50 degrees, but we'll only get around 60 once again as we'll have more clouds. Possibly a couple of showers here as we go through the middle of the week. After that, we really start to warm things up, and it will happen pretty quickly. As we go into the day on Thursday, we're going to jump into the 70s, even close to 80 degrees there. And you notice that we're going to keep that warmth going even as we head into next weekend above that average high of 72. Put it all together for you now in the 7-day planning forecast. So a little bit of sunshine tomorrow, temperatures around 60. That'll be a similar story on Wednesday. As we get the warmer temperatures coming in here, you notice we also get into a more active weather pattern, a daily chance for showers and thunderstorms. I don't think any of those days are going to be a washout, but between about Thursday and Monday, some areas could see 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. Now, the good news there is that we have been overall fairly dry, so rivers are in pretty good shape here, so they can take that water, especially if we spread it out over a couple of days. With the warmer temperatures, of course, we're also going to be watching the potential that some of those storms could be on the stronger side, and we'll update you for any outlooks that come our way that say that. We'll be right back with much more on the news at 7.
Like many airlines, Amtrak is now requiring all of its passengers to wear face masks beginning today. The requirement applies to customers in all Amtrak stations, trains, and transit buses. Amtrak employees who work with customers also are required to wear masks. The mask can be taken off when passengers are sitting alone or with a travel partner, and when they're eating or in private rooms.
Instead of picking up their pencils, about 3 million students had to log on to take their advanced placement exams today. The test can be used for high school and college placement. Some schools will even give college credit for high scores. The coronavirus has forced the College Board to make some pretty big changes to the exams this year. For example, the testing started online at 9 a.m. Eastern for everyone. That meant some international students had to get up in the middle of the night. The exams only include material covered in AP classes until March, and students can use their notes. The tests are also a lot shorter, clocking in at 45 minutes instead of 3 hours.
Our Tuesday forecast still going to have you reaching for that jacket, especially in the morning. As we go into the afternoon, numbers will warm closer to 60 degrees, but we'll have more clouds around. I think it's going to be a dry day for us. Things get a little more active in the 7-day planning forecast, but that's also when we're going to start to warm things up. Those highs will get back into the middle 70s by Thursday with a daily chance for showers and storms.
Thank you for making RTV6 your choice for news. Our next newscast is tonight at 11. We'll see you then.